seriously thought that it was over for Women's History Month. Like, it was just gonna wrap up, nothing else was gonna come up. But then this show came out and it literally changed everything. Like, it kind of made history. So, I want to talk about it because I just finished this show and it was kind of excellent. So, basically, Class of '07 is a TV show. I guess you can call it like, is this like, this isn't dystopian, is it? Like, I don't know. For me, it falls under that genre somewhat, like, because I don't want to call it sci-fi or fantasy necessarily. Um, it's like giving The Wild. It's giving Lost, Lord of the Flies, if you've ever read that. Um, but it has a comedic take, and it also has drama elements in it. So yeah, here we like let's get into it. I don't even know what more you could want from a series, and it basically pulls off each genre effortlessly. So let's talk about it, and let's also like just give a hand for the all female cast. Up until the last episode, some guys came in, but I'm sure they'll take care of him and them in the next season. Like, we're gonna get into that. But an ensemble female cast. When was the last time? Sorry, I'm drinking a smoothie. I'm in Yellow Jackets. No, because there's even a guy in the Yellow Jackets. I haven't finished it yet, but there's a guy in Yellow. There's like multiple male characters in Yellow Jackets. Like, there, yeah. All I can think of is Orange is the New Black. And I'm sure there's like plenty of shows out with like ensemble female cast, but like just from what I'm remembering, I can't even say this is popular yet. We'll have to wait and see. I really hope this gets renewed regardless of the reception it gets or the views that it gets, because at this point, I mean, what are you doing, Amazon? Because you guys spent like $2 billion on the Lord of the Rings rights or whatever, and to make the show. And I don't know if it flopped or not. Can someone let me know? I tried to watch the first couple of episodes and I didn't care. So I stopped watching it. Maybe at some point over the summer or something, I'll be able to go back and actually watch. I don't know why. Sorry, my texts are showing up. Be able to go back and watch all the episodes. I'll probably have to have like a lot of wine or something. But anyways, Class of '07. So this video is going to have spoilers. This video is basically for people who have seen the show. But I'm going to describe what the show is about, in case you haven't seen the show and you don't care about spoilers and you still want to know about it. I know there's people like that. I used to be like that. I'm not like that anymore. Oh, I used to be like that because my memory is so terrible. So I'd be like, just tell me what happened. I'm not going to remember. Then I'd be like watching the show, and then I'd get like, a memory would unlock like 75% like way when I'm through, and I'd be like, oh my god, everybody's about to die. I remember this. And yeah, so I stopped doing that to myself. It's really hard not to Google stuff, but and these days it's like even to the point where you can't even go on Twitter the morning that they release a show because it'll just get spoiled. You don't even have to look anymore. So let's get into what the show's about. It is about okay, so it does have a main character. The main character is definitely gonna be Zoe. Yeah, there she is. Zoe is the main character. Basically, the show starts off with her, like, it's kind of like giving I don't know how you describe that kind of thing, like a satirical kind of mockumentary vibe. Like, I don't know what that genre of stuff is called, but where she's like in this bachelorette kind of show, bachelor show, and she leaves the show and she ends up like isolating herself somewhere. I guess they're in Australia. And she has a high school reunion, and she goes to an all-girls school, Catholic school, and she's like, I'm not gonna go. And then she's basically hiding out because on the bachelor show she didn't get picked, and she had this viral moment, and was like kind of embarrassing. So she decided to hide out on her in her dad's like little farmhouse or whatever up in the mountains. And then all of a sudden, like natural disasters starts happening. You know, geysers are shooting up from the air. Like this show is very, like, I don't know. It has unserious moments, but it's also really serious. And also like the CGI and stuff was like pretty decent. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it can be like, but so she ends up going to her reunion because she's like, oh my god, what's going on? And her reunion is like the meetup spot for if there's like anything happens. Like that's where everyone meets. Like it's the safest place. So she goes to her reunion. She's like, hey guys, the world's ending. All of her old schoolmates are there. Of course, they haven't seen each other in years. Who knows? Probably even a decade. And everyone's like, yeah, right, you're crazy because you had that viral moment. And they just start filming her. And she's like, okay, whatever. So, okay. So, she just gets to partying. And I want to bring this up. Let me bring it up now, actually. Because in this show, they literally bring up points because everyone, like, goes through it. And everyone gets, like, crapped on at some point, the characters. They all, like, make mistakes and do something that they shouldn't have done. And one thing, Zoe, yeah, does Zoe have a lot of flaws? Yeah, yeah. Do women's stories matter? Yeah, especially during Women's History Month. But the one thing that I just kind of rubbed me the wrong way that they would always like critique her for, they'd be like, "Oh, well, the world was ending and you didn't tell us or whatever, or like you didn't like really tell us." And she was like, and I actually felt bad for her because I was like, she literally did try to tell you guys, and you guys were just laughing at her. Like she was trying so hard to be like the world was ending, and nobody cared, nobody budged, nobody moved. And y'all just started recording her. I would have been like, cut the cameras. Like, nope. I would have been in the bathroom drinking whatever the heck they were drinking. I've never seen that drink in my life. I've never heard of it. I guess it's from Australia. So that kind of blew me. But, and then she also does a lot of crazy things. So I'm like, you guys don't need to bring that up now. So she goes to her reunion. Nobody believes her. And then, like, these two girls, Tegan and Megan, they're like hanging out in a gazebo at the reunion. And then this one other girl, Amelia, she ends up like going outside and seeing them. And then the gazebo is like halfway underwater. And then all of a sudden they're like a little island. And there's no land around them and it's just water. And everyone's like, what the heck? And then, you know, she's like, I told y'all. And Zoe, she's basically like, I told y'all the world was ending. Nobody wanted to listen. So then everybody freaks out and all this stuff. And they're like trying to get them out of the water. But that's the whole premise of the show. From here on out, I'm so terrible at describing plots. This is also why I just say, no, I just don't do that. But from here on out, I'm just going to talk about the characters. And, yeah, let's start off with the characters. So, we have Sarah. Actually, who on earth is Sarah? Why would they not put... Oh! No, that's not her. That's definitely not her. Wow. I don't know who that girl is then. I don't know. That is crazy. Does she have an IMDb? Does she have like photos? Maybe she was like one of the extra girls in the background. Sandy. Okay. Sandy was so funny. She is like your typical kind of cowbells character. Her character takes a huge turn, and honestly, a lot of the plot ends up centering around what happens with her character, which you don't expect at first. You don't, like, The twists and turns this show takes at every corner. There was a point where I was just like, there's no way they're going to be able to like cohesively wrap this up while also keeping my interest for season 2. You know what I mean? Like, but they did it. They did it. So, okay. Sandy was so funny because on the first episode, you get this idea that Sandy's kind of like the bully and nobody likes her. And yes, honestly, all of these girls are mean in their own way. Okay. Obviously, there are some more serious perpetrators than others, Saskia, but you end up finding out like later on that Sandy, she's from the States and they bullied her and stuff when she did go to school with them in Australia. And they were like, you should just go back home and all these things. And I was like, oh, wow. And then it makes a lot of sense. I love this scene where she's like trashing all the food. She's like drops the Vegemite and they all freak out. And they go to a scene later in this series where she has like, they gave her like some kind of Vegemite cake, or I don't know what it was called. I don't think it was Vegemite, but she didn't like it. And they were just making fun of her, and that's when they were telling her to go back home. So I was just like, it was Saskia and Zoe. So, that was really interesting to see. Every character is very, not very nuanced, but somewhat, there are layers to them. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I appreciate that each character got their own little storyline, but we didn't get like too much. We mostly just got what happened to them at school, which makes sense because, it just makes sense. But it would be interesting to see like other stuff about them if they ever want to like dive deeper into the characters. So Sandy ends up getting pushed off to sea basically by Saskia, but Zoe was there and like she didn't really tell anybody about it afterwards. So that's where I think she is guilty. Now, I don't recall her pushing Sandy off to sea as well. Or at least like when she was doing it, she knew what was happening. I recall Saskia doing it and then being like, well, like, she was just kind of gaslighting her. She was like, didn't you just say like she needs to go away? Well, I just misinterpreted you, basically. So that was like Saskia being manipulative. So I don't think she had any fault there, really. I think where she becomes guilty is her not telling people afterwards, and then also her actively working with Saskia to cover it up. That was shady. It was just so shady because like that girl could have been literally dead, and they were just walking around with no worries or cares. Like antisocial behavior. I'm sorry, like that was crazy to me. That was crazy. I was shocked to believe Amelia was the only one on mental health medication. Okay. But so yeah, so Sandy, and then like that makes you view Sandy completely differently from that point on. I mean, you're kind of like, oh, she's so annoying because she's just looking for her handbag the whole time and all this stuff, and she's shallow and she like ate a bunch of their food. Like they was not rationing that food well. But then you just kind of like, I don't know, you just kind of like figure out what they did to her when she was younger, and you get like, you end up caring about each of the characters on some level, so. And then Sandy has this interesting relationship with Teresa, I'm not sure, where they're like friends, and I would love to see that explored more in the next season, because I'm like not really sure what's going on there. It seems like Sandy is very codependent on Teresa, and she doesn't really, like, she just has more complicated feelings about the friendship. And it seems like she kind of like outgrew the friendship, obviously, and whatever. But then there's also a scene, like I said, with the cake, and Teresa's there, and you see her laughing with the other girls, but then you see her kind of like look guilty about laughing with the other girls. So I want to see more about them in the next season. And overall, I like Sandy as a character. She ends up getting lost at sea, and then she comes back. I don't know why she chose to come back because it seemed like if she had a paddle, she could have came back at any moment that she wanted to. But yeah, I guess when they sent out that guy's the burning thing of that teacher, she was like, oh, I don't know if she was like, oh, maybe they're like alive still. I didn't think they would still be alive or something. So yeah, and then she ends up coming back and she just like is trying to kidnap Teresa and kill Saskia and Zoe. Zoe ends up getting literally stabbed in the back. Deserved, like, let's be honest. And I like how the show was aware of that. So, because like some shows, I hate shows that have like obnoxious or unlikable characters, and that's not the purpose of the character, and then they continue to not make that the purpose of the character. Emily in Paris. Um, no, but like seriously, Zoe is like a crappy person throughout the series, and honestly, I don't even know if by the end of the series, if she's less of a crappy person. She's still pretty selfish. Like, even her trying to, we'll get into her. We'll get into her. But even her trying to, like, reconcile with Amelia is so self motivated because she feels bad that she wasn't there for her when her mother, what happened with her mother happened. And even though, I mean, like, they were so young, but, like, she did make a choice. She was just kind of, like, guilting her. She was like, oh, well, you need to come with us. We haven't hung out in so long. Like, please. And it clearly, like, there was something else going on there. There was, like, undertones. And Saskia picked up on it. That's why she was like, come on, because she's literally the devil's spawn. But, anyways. Why was I talking about Amelia all of a sudden? I have no idea. But, oh, yes, I was talking about Zoe being selfish because Sandy came to stab her. And nothing happened to Saskia because Saskia was already on trial. That was insane. That was amazing. It was giving, I don't know, every time they do their little trials, it's giving 12 Angry Men. And I don't know why, like, but, so yeah, so Sandy does that, and then she's still really unhinged when she comes back. More unhinged, actually. But I think she'll start to settle down a little bit, maybe, possibly, probably not. She's always just kind of been, like, fiery. But I also think that the girls need to accept her more, and I think that will happen in the next season, so I can't wait to see where her character goes. I think out of all of the characters on the show, she has the most, like, her character has the most change and growth, so congratulations, Sandy. Yeah, and then she, like I said, she tries to steal Teresa because she's like pregnant from some like pirates or something. I don't remember. And Teresa's gonna raise her baby because that's Teresa's whole thing. And we'll get into her right now. Teresa was literally so funny. Okay, everybody in this cast was hilarious. How did they find this many talented women in general? And then how did they find this many funny, talented women? Like, their minds, okay? And a lot of them are from other things, especially, like, the ones that have the most lines. Teresa was so funny because she was, like, such a, like, peaceful, easygoing person in the beginning, and then it gets, like, we get to like the halfway mark, and then she just becomes super like aggressive, and it's hilarious. I think it's after Zoe drops that thing on her foot, because after that Renee ends up performing surgery on her. I'm sorry, Renee had me geeked. I'm so sorry. Like, she was too funny. Anyway, she performs surgery on her, and she ends up like amputating her toe. It's actually not funny because that was so messed up. And that's when she just loses her crap. Like, she's just like, okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy. And I like that for her because it definitely seems like she gets pushed around by obviously Saskia and Sandy to some extent, and she never gets to actually do what she wants to do. So I enjoyed that 180 of her character. Like, she's just like so ready to like do all these crazy things to Saskia when she finds out about what she does. So good for her, good for her. Um, I can't wait to see her and Sandy raise a baby together. I don't know. I think it's literally going to be hilarious and also super sweet. So we love besties raising children together. Okay. Um, so she does have a character like development in this show in this season because, like I said, she starts off really super sweet, and she is a sweet person. But there was times when people would overstep, and she would still remain sweet, and it was like, okay, Teresa, I need you to stand up. So she kind of got that voice by the end of the season, and I'm really excited to see where we go from there. Megan. She was funny as heck. Oh my gosh, she was so funny. Tegan and Megan were so funny. And Megan had a nice little character arc as well. Megan's so interesting because she's like all this energy and stuff, and she's a musician and she's like really good at it. And then she goes through this story like arc where she becomes sober basically, and I thought that was really like handled pretty well. And yeah, like I don't know what else to say about that. So that's, I guess everyone does kind of have development. Did everyone change except Zoe? um but yeah, and then I love her relationship with Megan. They're just hilarious, and I want to see them grow more next season. It was crazy when they all voted for her to die. Like, that was a little too crazy. Speaking of, what are they gonna do when they find out that Amelia and Homegirl left? And let me tell you, Zoe, this is your last strike, actually. Because they literally left, right? They left, knowing their friends are starving and all of that. They're probably about to go find other people, be eaten or whatever. Who knows? They might get into danger, but... So they left. Mind you, Zoe was on this little radio thing, calling out for help, yelling out their coordinates. As soon as she was doing that, I was like, we lost the plot, sister. Like, why? And after Sandy literally talked to her, and you know what? It's so funny because when they found out Sandy was pregnant, her and Teresa, Zoe and Teresa, she was like, oh my god, you ate too much food or something like that. And then Sandy and Teresa were like, you're so stupid, basically. They were like, are you stupid? She was out there yelling out their coordinates after Sandy literally told her, everybody that is beyond what the land touches, what we can see, is evil, basically. Not evil, but like it's to the fight of the death, basically. And Zoe thought it would be okay to do all that. Like, if anything, she should have just been like, is anybody out there? And like, that's it. She put their exact coordinates. Like, that was so crazy. And then for her to just leave the island, I do not like her. But guess what? It's gonna set up something good for next season. I hope we get a Home Alone tease, and yeah, they do what they need to do on that island, because, or school, whatever, because those men cannot come up there. They was on the boat talking about, OMG, like, can you guys get the stove started? And I was like, and then like Saskia literally picked up a rock. Like, she is just like me. I'm sorry, like, I'm a Saskia apologist. It's Women's History Month. Women's stories matter, okay? They do. So yeah, back to Megan. Awesome character. She is so funny. Anything she says is funny. When you need, like, everybody on the cast is hilarious, which is insane. I cannot I cannot wrap my mind around it. But the fact that Tegan and Megan are like, there's a lot of their purpose was to be comedic relief, and they still had storylines on top of that, so that was good. Yeah, it was a serve. It was a serve if there ever was one. I'm not about to say that. Melanie didn't really have that much character development. Um, she's kind of there from time to time. She helps them in their during their trial. So yeah, Genevieve was funny as heck. Genevieve had me cracking up. Like she might have had me laughing more than Tegan and Megan. Was Genevieve literally who had me laughing the most is between Genevieve and Renee. No, I'm not even joking. Like no, because they were so funny. Genevieve was so funny with her. I kind of felt bad when she was talking about how like Saskia made her, have issues going to the bathroom. That was so sad because not being able to poop is kind of crazy, and I would not wish that on my worst enemy. So I feel bad for her, and she's like, I have anxiety about where I had to go, and I was like laughing and crying and screaming at the same time. She also just has throughout the entire trial, she's hilarious. When she goes on strike, she's the first person to stick up to Saskia. Good for her because she needed to be stopped. No, that was crazy. She was not even going to be gaslit for 1 second, 1 minute. Like, but was Saskia making some points with her rule? Yeah, but some of the stuff was absurd. Like, was she getting things done? She was. She was. Like, I'm sorry, that's my girl. I'm gonna stick beside her. Anyways, Genevieve called her out, and she was like, and you push, she peeped for everybody. She was like, you definitely pushed Sandy off to sea. Because they were trying to do a whole thing, and then Amelia was defending Saskia, and I was like, why? What is going on here? Can somebody, I need to understand this dynamic between Amelia, Zoe, and Saskia, because I don't get it. It smells kind of fruity. Not quite sure yet, though. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I guess, oh, wait. Amelia is married, though. Anyways. So, yeah, Genevieve was so funny. She was like, because Amelia was like, oh, well, she may be a bully, but it doesn't make her a murderer. And she was like, aren't murderers like the biggest bullies, basically? And I was like, yeah. The Supreme Court could never. The U.S. justice system could never. Um, so I liked her character a lot. I love when she found that bathroom and was just like using it the entire time. Her character doesn't really need to necessarily grow throughout this first season because she's kind of like well rounded and she speaks up for herself and she's not mean. So I really like Genevieve actually now that I'm like thinking about it. And she just had the funniest lines, like and she knew she was eating those lines too, like you could tell. I'm so sorry, but she had me cracking up when she ate that eyeball. Okay, I need to stop talking about her. She was hilarious. Is there anything else I have to say about her? No. No, I'm just glad that she stuck her ground, basically. I've stood her ground, so good for her, good for her. Okay. Phoebe was so funny as well. She was like so attached to the technology throughout in the beginning of the series, and then at the end she kind of just, well, she had no other choice because apparently they were on that island for 6 months. I was like, geez. But yeah, she becomes more, present. So I appreciate that. I think she's another character that just like, other than that, her becoming more present, she overall stays the same, like, character trait wise. And I think everyone does, but like, she's another character that's like pretty well rounded and grounded, and she also has like a little bit of a tough side, and that just really ends up working to her advantage in the circumstances that they're in, because she has a tough side, but she knows when to speak up and when not to. Like, she was very strategic about the way she went about the situation, and she's also still a very nice person. And I love her dynamic with Renee. They had me cracking up. Okay, you gotta find out that they're close friends because she ends up like bargaining with Zoe for blue nail polish, and then she gives it to Renee, and I was like, somebody like throw me a bone, throw me something. I need something. One of these dynamics have to end up panning out into a relationship, right? So yeah, Phoebe's awesome. She also is not afraid to stick up to Saskia, and like I said, she's like a bit more strategic with it. She doesn't just flat out, call her out for things like Genevieve does. She kind of like plays her with these like batteries. She ends up being in charge of like all of the stuff that they have there, and yeah, at some point she's kind of like blackmailing Saskia, which is messed up because I think it was over. Yeah, it was over the teacher. What the teacher did to her. So I didn't. I was like, not too much, not too much. But yeah. Um, I thought it was so funny when Saskia was like talking about that story with the teacher, and then Genevieve. Oh no, I don't know if it's Genevieve or Phoebe, but they're like, yeah, that was really sad and everything, but she was a see you next Tuesday, way before year 12, and I was like, oh my god, this is hilarious. They're so funny to me. Like, they are so funny. Like, the comedy was a little bit dark, just the way I like it, and a little bit dry, because you know how Australians are. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so next is Tegan. She didn't really do all too much. Um, so hopefully we can get more for her in the next season, but she just kind of like has this relationship. Her and Megan are just like in their own world, so they don't really. I don't know. She's definitely. It was like so weird because I feel like she didn't do a lot, but at the same time, I feel like she had a lot, like a good amount of lines. So I don't feel unfulfilled by anything like her character's journey or anything like that. So I don't know. She's just one of those characters where it seems like, well, she did kind of have like some realizations of feelings with Megan because they had like a little falling out, and I did like that. And yeah, but we can give her a little more next season. Yeah. Okay. So Amelia, I really like Amelia's character. Yes, I really like her character. Her story, like her plot, even like going back to their childhood, is probably one of the more, detailed. That's what I was saying. Definitely Amelia, Saskia, and Zoe are the main characters. We've gotten more details about Amelia and Saskia's life than Zoe's at this point. But finding out everything about her mom and like the way that they revealed everything about her and how it just kind of like weaved into the plot so well and drove the plot, it was well done. It was beautiful. And her, she has a heavy role in the series because she carries a lot of the drama like aspects of the show, whether it be something that happens in her childhood or her current relationship with Zoe. Because we find out in her childhood, her mom took her own life. So when that's revealed later on, you kind of get this. At first, it seems like some kind of like petty fallout that everybody has with their childhood friends, but then you kind of realize that it was a little bit more than that going on. And even though nobody's really like necessarily to blame because they were minors, and also it was just like the situation, it does feel like some things could have been handled better, but at the same time, they're minors, and that was just such a relatable story line, I guess. And even like when she does end up revealing it, Zoe feels like so crappy about it, but she's kind of like, it doesn't really matter like that much. Then I think like later on she does realize that that's something that hurt her, and ultimately I feel like that's why she went to the reunion, right, to see Zoe. So obviously that's something that she still thinks about. And I think that everybody can relate to that on some level. So not only was it a relatable storyline, but it was also the heart almost of the story to some extent. And it drove a lot of the plot. It drove the relationship between Saskia and Zoe. So it was just like a lot like balled up into her character, and she just did it perfectly. And she also had moments where she had to like, you know, be really emotional. She probably has the biggest emotional journey, not journey, but like she has a lot of emotions that she's dealing with throughout the show that sometimes it's hard to like understand because you know that she is like she takes antidepressants. I don't know what she has necessarily, but or what she's diagnosed with, sorry. But yeah, I really appreciated her character, and I'm starting to really like overall TV shows showcasing depression, and I thought this was like a pretty good portrayal of it. And the reality of her running out of her meds, you know, and I like the part where Zoe's like, "Oh my god, are you acting like this because you're off your meds?" And she's like, "Please, like, go get away from me." And yeah, she just goes like, "No, we're literally in a crazy situation, and this is a normal reaction to being in a crazy situation." Because y'all know Zoe a little, she got some screws loose, so she be acting like everything's fine and dandy all the time. But I don't blame her. Somebody has to be optimistic on the island. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed Amelia'S character. Honestly, I want to say she's my favorite, even though at times I was just kind of like, Amelia, come on, sister. But I understand everything that she goes through, especially by the end of the show, when everything is laid out for you. You're just kind of like, okay, I get it now. And like I said, it was done so well because at the beginning, in the first episode, you get this kind of inkling that there's something else going on here, not only with this dynamic, but with these characters. So there's definitely like, you know, you're intrigued and you want to know more. So, like I said, and they don't, the way they paced it was perfect because they don't give it to you all at once in like one backstory episode, which could be so easy to do. You know, and some people might even prefer that, but they kind of space it out, and I feel like there's still more to be told about her story. And I don't feel like, oh, we just got too little. I feel like it was just enough. So, thank you, Amelia. Yeah. And I thought it was so cute when she was the judge, and she used to be in like law school or whatever. So that was cute. Um, is her husband dead? Are we assuming her husband's dead? Can we just assume that her husband is dead? And then like, because I hope this show gets renewed, and then like season 3, just like bring her husband back for, you know, kicks and giggles. But anyways, yeah, Amelia, you are that girl. And but you know, we have to get on to the main event. My favorite character, Saskia. I love Saskia. I love this actress. First of all, I used to watch Rain. I remember tuning into CW every week, way before my prefrontal cortex was developed. Because that's the only way you're getting through that show. I don't even think I finished the show. I think I fell off like after Francis died or something like that. I fell off. Sorry, spoiler, even though like it's been years and you shouldn't be watching that show anyways. I was obsessed with that show, and I always thought the actresses were so pretty. So when I saw her on here, I was like, OMG. And she's literally perfect as Saskia. Like, I don't know what else to say. And the way she plays her so well, where you can tell there's definitely like nice sides to her. I don't even think it's like necessarily sides. I think Saskia is ultimately a good person. I just think she just likes to get her way differently. And she doesn't like, she's like one of those people where if you mess with her, she's just kind of like over it. And let's not forget that she's dealing with a lot. Not that that excuses abusive behavior, but you know, a lot did happen with her with the teacher, and that was happening with her. I know they said she was mean before that, but you know, hopefully we'll get more revealed about her story in the later seasons. But she definitely is a layered character. She's not meant to be one dimensional, even two dimensional. Like, she's a nice person, and she not only that, but she ends up seeing what she does wrong or how she's wronged everybody. I mean, she doesn't really have a choice because, well, she does. Because she could just be like, I don't care what y'all say, or whatever. Or she could just be fake and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. But no, she, like, genuinely understands how she wronged all of these people. And then she ends up being a better person and just kind of, like, stepping down and toning down. But she's still, like, that kind of funky, quirky, not quirky, but funky girl. Because I love when Amelia's up in the roof with the possum. And she's like, can you come vote for us? And she's like, she's basically like, I've been working on myself. So can you please come do this because I'd really appreciate it. And she's like so close to letting the She-Hulk out. It was so funny. Or the Hulk, not She-Hulk, because She-Hulk is basically the same, in my opinion. She's not like as crazy as he is in his Hulk side. But anyways, yeah, Saskia's amazing, and I love her dynamic with Amelia and Zoe because I need to know more about her relationship with Amelia because it seems, I'm like, why does Amelia always stick up for her? You know what I mean? That's the part that I don't get. So I just want to see more. Like, it seems like at some point they had some kind of friendship or something like that. But we'll see what happens. And then as for her relationship with Zoe, you know, they obviously had that friendship growing up. So that makes more sense. But there's something different about her relationship with Amelia. I don't know if I'm an Amelia and Zoe stan or Amelia and Saskia stan or Saskia and Zoe stan. I think I'm an Amelia and Saskia stan. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So anyways, yeah, that's basically like all about Saskia. She, like I said, I think she grows the most out of all of the characters. Which is good for her. And she also gets to, she has no other choice but to, you know, kind of process her trauma because she's put into the same setting that she was in when she was going through those things, and she was already just dealing with them in general. So, and that's like, I thought it was a pretty, it was the abuse storyline was handled pretty well. So, yeah. Alright, next character is Zoe. I feel like I've said so much about her at this point that what really more can be said, but Zoe is like, she is like, who was the main girl in Orange is the New Black? She reminds me so much of her. Like, she is very self-centered. Um, she's gonna have to get whacked probably a bunch of times before she just realizes what the heck's going on, or she just may never realize what the heck's going on. So we'll see what happens. I do think that even though when she's trying to make situations better, a lot of it is because she can't handle the guilt of things. Um, I do also do believe part of it is she's just genuinely trying to reconcile with people and make what she did right again. But the thing is, we can't keep doing wrong things. Like, we can't ask for forgiveness later, basically. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Even in her helping Amelia go to get, like, antidepressants at Scuba World or whatever, you literally whacked her across the head, made everybody believe you guys were gonna eat her, and then ran off with the last boat that everybody had. Like, and I get it, you have to do what you have to do sometimes, but, like, She's just delusional at times. But guess what? She's fun. That's my sister. I'm gonna stand beside her. She's messy, like the best of us. And I love that for her. And she lives in her messiness. I love that as well. It is so funny when she literally gets stabbed in the back. And she's just walking around with a knife for like, what is it, like days? Even the nun won't take the knife out of her back. Like, what? That is so wrong. But, anyways, Zoe, guess what? I understand why she's the main character. You know what I mean? So, yeah, she's just kind of like that girl. She's always in the center of drama and everything. So, congratulations, Zoe. And who doesn't love Emily Browning? If she is not hilarious, down to earth and all that kind of stuff in this role, we already knew she was going to eat. Like, it didn't matter what character she was playing. I was going to be tuned in. I was going to be seated with my popcorn regardless. So, yeah. I love Zoe. The way that she, like, her character can kind of, although she has her main storyline and her dynamics with Amelia and Saskia, she also interacts with the other females in the cast very well and has like relationships with them, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, Zoe is a main character girly. Like, good job, whoever created this. Y'all did a good job. Next is Laura. Not really much about her. She's kind of like the girl that everybody kind of craps on and they forgot about her. But she's really funny. So she like in the end she was like, "Can you guys have a funeral for me?" or whatever, and then like they end up ditching her funeral. It's so funny. Like, she is hilarious. Every time she says something or they say something about her is so funny. And then in the scene when Zoe was like mad at Amelia for not telling her why she was cycling so hard, like, this is the problem, Zoe. This is the problem. She was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go hang out with Laura," and Laura was like, "Yeah, no." Anyway, she is so funny. I love when she played the judge, their little Judge Judy. Anyways, like I said, everybody on this cast is hilarious. Like, I don't know what else to say. Renee. Why do I feel like I've seen this actress somewhere else before? Hold on, guys. Walk with me here. Walk with me. What else was she in? Check out her IMDb since they want to make things complicated. Nothing. We don't have anything. You can't even click on her name. I need them to get these profiles put up quickly. Anyways, Renee was hilarious. I love Renee. She does have a storyline in the sense that she learns to accept the fact that she doesn't really need to say that she's a makeup artist say that she's a doctor and try to impress people, but I love how she ends up being the doctor anyways. She is the second character that had me cracking up after Genevieve, because when they were literally like, "Oh yeah, what's in the jar?" when they were looking at the rat that was like preserved in the science lab, she was like, "Pickle juice," and they were like, what was it? Was it Phoebe? She was like, "Isn't it formaldehyde?" And she was just like, "No, they use pickle juice now because they want to be organic." Like, I never laughed so hard, I swear. And there's other parts too. When she literally cut off that girl's toe, I was Renee is hilarious. Oh my goodness. It's giving London Tipton. Like, yeah, she's so funny and she's just so sweet. So, yeah. And I like that she's okay with being a nail technician. She's like, whatever, like, this is what I am, and it's what I've always wanted to be. They end up going back into, like, their time capsule, and she literally wrote to herself that she wanted to be a nail technician, and I loved that. I really loved that. That was so cute. Um, yeah, she has a cute little dynamic with Phoebe as well, so can't wait to see that explored more in the next season. Can't wait to see her be the doctor some more. Yeah, she like literally put whatever on that girl's belly. I don't know what she was putting up on there. It was so funny. And then when they blame Saskia for cutting that girl's toe off, when they know very well Saskia did not tell them to cut off her toe. She told them to cut off the nail, but she thought that Renee had common sense. She thought that Renee was a doctor, let alone had common sense, but she was wrong. Then Phoebe was in the background with some, like, playing with the stethoscope and, like, reading a magazine. And she's like, you want to cut this girl's toe off? And then she's like, it was crazy. It was crazy. If I was to, I see why Teresa turned. Okay. So, that is basically the entire cast. I'm really excited for season 2 because, like I said, they left on an amazing cliffhanger. They left on multiple cliffhangers, actually. We have half of the group went off on the boats, right? So that's the thing. Where do they go? Are they alive? Because by the end of the show, it's been like 8 days or something since they've come back, or 18. Then we have that Amelia and Zoe took the boat away, and they're like going to find her some antidepressants. Only Lord knows what's gonna happen there. Then all the girls was on the island, and then all of a sudden guys showed up. OMG, I'm so scared for them. Like, this, they have to get rid of them quickly. Like, there's no other solution to this. This is not the wilds. We're not inviting. Why? Let me tell y'all, Amazon, what happened? Let me not be nasty. But y'all tried to put boys on the second season of the wilds, and what happened? Do not. I need them gone. I need them whacked immediately. So we have that. And then we have, like, the baby plot line. So, you know, we have a couple of things to look forward to next season. And that's good television, ladies and gentlemen, during Women's History Month at that. Yeah. This is going to end up being one of my favorite shows that I watched this year. I just don't know what other show is going to be able to do what this show did for me, let alone in general. So I think if you haven't watched it, you should tune in. Obviously, I'm going to assume you've watched it if you're watching this video. And let's just pray and hope that it doesn't get canceled, because they canceled The Wilds. We were supposed to get Estella and the Spades series or, like, sequel movie. That is nowhere to be found. They even canceled Paper Girls, if I'm not mistaken. So that's just really weird to me. I don't know. And Amazon has been coming out with solid things, so I don't really know why they keep canceling all their shows, because all of their shows are pretty good. I even watched Peripheral. It was from, like, people who made Westworld with Chloe Grace Moretz, and that was pretty decent. The only thing was I have to, like, go back and rewatch that. I shouldn't have watched it as soon as I did, because it came out, like, either right when Westworld cancellation got announced, or, like, right when the last season ended. So I was just so bitter about it, and I was just watching it, and the like, not necessarily the plot, but some, like, the concept is similar. So I was just kind of, like, salty about that. But I think the show is good. Hopefully that gets renewed for another season, you know. So yeah, women's stories matter, Amazon. So remember that. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next TV show review.